Welcome to the Win, Make, Give podcast. Chad Himes here. Don't be alarmed that it's Chad Himes instead of Ben Kinney on this intro. I am here with Bob Stewart. Bob, how are you?
Hi, Chad. I'm good,
A
man. How are you?
with more hats than he knows how many he truly has. I still want credit for having the right answer on that question.
Lucas owes you. You had the right answer. Jay White cheated, by the way, and texted me. I had no idea what was going on, but
I texted you too. I saw the exact. I was like, "Hey, that's the exact same answer Bob sent me."
It was. I gave you guys both the same answer,
which means Bob has no idea how many hats he truly has. Bob, you are a wealth of information, and you definitely have a wealth of hats.
Dude.
We have been going through the Wealth series. We are on a bonus episode of the Wealth series, and we just did this one without Ben, which is why Ben's not here right now. What's coming on this episode that we're titling Impact?
We're going to talk to a few people that have been going through this or taking others through this, or and just get a little bit of a sense of when you actually do this. Because I know, listen, Chad, we know for a fact, you and I have trained and taught all over the U.S. for years and years, and we know that a lot of people like to get the training but not actually do anything.
Right? Amen, Bob.
And so we know, and it's okay, right? You and I have both been trained on things that it took them 5, 6, 8 times for us to hear it before we're finally like, okay, yeah, we should do that. So it's okay. But we wanted to talk to a few people in today's episode that are actually doing the work, right? That aren't just listening to the Wealth series. They're doing the workbooks. They're putting these philosophies into play in their life. And so that's the idea of today. Is we wanted to let the audience kind of a sneak peek into the impact. And look, some of you guys are doing the work. And you are having these same impacts in your life, but we wanted to just talk to a few people that are doing the work and that are feeling the impact of the Wealth series.
Well, I don't want anyone to feel left out and say, well, why didn't they call me, right? So the first person I talked to, Bob, is Stacy Miller. And here's how I chose Stacy when we decided to do this. She's the most engaged in the Facebook group.
Yeah.
I just went in and I searched and I said, hey, who's the most interactive or most contributing over the Wealth series? And she's been in there commenting on a lot of people's stuff for support, for, giving her, she's been posting a lot of stuff. So I wanted to hear a little bit of her story. So she's the first person that we're going to hear from. How did you choose the person that you wanted to interview?
The person I interviewed, Chad, was it was a layup for me. I interviewed my mom. And I know. But here's why, right? One, because she's been through it a few times. This isn't the first time that she's ever done the Wealth series. So I want to get a little bit of perspective on that. And then she's also taking my oldest son and my 2 oldest niece and nephew. So my son, Kellen, her grandchildren through it. So I talked to her about that.
Okay. And then I know that you were talking to your mom about taking grandchildren through it. Now, how old are the grandchildren?
17. One is 17 and 2 are 15 going on 16.
Okay, so I reached out to one of our young celebrities of the Wealth series, and that's Ava Channer, who we heard from early in the Wealth series. She jumped into the Facebook group. She put all this stuff out there about how this was impacting her already at age 14, right? She's now 15. We talked about her even in episode 10 when we were talking with Molly English. That we talked about Ava and her situation. And I said, you know what? Let's hear it directly from Ava. And I got her for an interview and we sat down and we talked about it. So folks, we want you to just sit back, listen to some of your peers, listen to some of your people that are just like you that are going through this, that have been engaged. You might recognize them from the Facebook group, and we'll challenge you to be involved. Maybe you'll end up on the next Impact episode of Future Wealth series. All right, everybody. It's Chad Himes here with Stacy Miller. Stacy's our top contributor in the Facebook group during the Wealth series. So, Stacy, thank you for being so involved and helping and supporting and sharing with everybody who's out there going through this together.
Absolutely. It's great to meet you, Chad. And thank you for giving us a great platform to be able to get together and just continue to grow.
Well, we love it. We love sharing. Bob, Ben, and I, we just want to give as much as we can. We're glad to see that there's people like you that it's impacting. So because you're our top contributor, I wanted to bring you onto this episode, and I wanted to hear from you. Talk to us about what you've learned, what you're taking away from this, what what interactions you've had, who you've shared this with. Talk about how Wealth Series 2.0 has impacted you.
Absolutely. So I think the number one takeaway that I have from it is the fact that there's no extenuating circumstances that need to be happening, no outside things that need to be, you don't need to be winning the lottery in order to be able to get ahead. Right now, I think the aha moment for me that stuck from probably the first episode was that I'm in control of all of it. I'm able to save the way I want to save. I'm able to spend every dollar the way I want it to be spent. And just each time that there's a new episode, it's just a different way of learning on how to shift maybe where your money's going. And so that's probably my biggest takeaway, that this is all in my hands and it's totally doable for anybody to be able to get ahead.
So what made you take the Well series? Was there someone specific who said, hey, you do this? Did you see something? How did you even get involved in taking the Well series?
Okay, well, I'll be honest with you. I think the I won't say bribe of the $10,000 chance to win was the first thing
Sure.
that hit my eyes. But overall, I was in a place in my life where I needed to figure out how to better shift my money mindset. Valerie Almanzar is a local um, real estate agent here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and her executive assistant, Deanna, has they've both been involved in my life, and I follow them on social media and things like that. And so they were so adamant about this exciting thing that, there really was the money, the chance to win the money was fun at first. And then it was, oh my gosh, this really can be a big change. And I just loved the atmosphere and the encouragement that I was getting from everyone.
Yes. So for those of you who are listening to this that have been going through the Wealth series with us, with Stacy, with Bob, Ben, myself, make sure you have all those answers filled out on the kind of the last page of every workbook. That's what we're going to be looking for. We're going to be sending out a Google form link for you to fill out. You'll be putting your answers in there. That's how we'll know you've actually done the homework and will be eligible on our live call to hopefully win $10,000. Now, people might be listening to this call after the money's been given away.
Absolutely.
There might be people out there who have never taken the Wealth series. What would you say to somebody in a month or 2 months from now when the Wealth series is now in the past, the money has been given away, that bribe's not there anymore? What will you say to family, friends, people, acquaintances, coworkers? What will you say about the series and how will you help them either with something you've learned that you've taken or to get them to go back and listen to the series because the episodes will always be here?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I would say take the time. It's worth it. Not just the time to listen to the podcast, not just the time to fill out the workbooks. And I mean the whole workbook, not just the quick here, fill in the blanks, but the the attachments and the books and the taking a look at your budget and the highlighting and the color coordinating and all of that stuff. Not just that, and not just getting involved in a group or having an accountability partner, but all of it combined is going to get you so much farther ahead than just picking one of those things. Having an accountability partner is great, but if you haven't had that aha moment of, holy cow, I need to change my life in a sense, you need that big shift to happen, then it's one without the other isn't going to work out as great. So all those things combined is absolutely what I tell everybody.
How have you felt the Facebook group has, and for those of you who are not part of it, find Win, Make, Give on Facebook. It's not that hard. Facebook.com/group/Win, Make, Give, or just go on Facebook and search in the search bar for Win, Make, Give. How have you found the group has impacted you? Because as I said, you've been our top contributor since we've launched the series, whether it's postings you're making or commenting on other people's things and getting involved. How has that impacted your taking of Wealth Series 2.0?
Well, I definitely think that has a twofold situation. The first one is that you're able to see other people that post, that you're not alone in a situation, depending on if you're at a certain stage in life and you just feel like you're the only one who's getting ready to be 40 years old and doesn't have a 401k or doesn't own a home yet. To see those other people posting about it is just one more step of encouragement of, okay, I can do this, even though different walks of life, different places in the United States or beyond. It really is encouraging to be able to see other people. but also the words of encouragement when I make the posts are probably just as strong, to be able to hear that I am not alone, that making this big, for example, one of the things I did post was that I had sold a Tahoe that I had owned for almost 18 years. And it was a very emotional sell for me. It was,
Sure.
not only did it take the people closest to me to say it's going to be okay, and those people that were going through the Wealth series with me, to know why I was doing it, they were able to encourage me. But when I made that post and it got however many likes and people encouraging me that I did the right thing, it made it a little less emotionally rough, but it was good to hear from other people about that.
How are you doing? I mean, do you go out to the driveway and kind of lay there and curl up and be like, "I miss you," or you doing okay?
I might have a couple of photos on my phone that'll never go away, and
You don't drive down the street and every time a Tahoe drives by, kind of have a teary moment or anything. You're doing okay.
I'm trying. Every day it gets better.
Okay. So, folks, the lesson I'm hearing there, and coming from Stacy, right? Get involved. And whether that you're going through the Wealth series, and yes, we are coming to the end of it, doesn't mean you can't go back, doesn't mean you can't be at your own pace. There's nothing that says you have to be done unless you wanted to win the money, right? This is going to always be here. Don't do this alone. Whether that means jumping into the Facebook group, even 3, 4, 5 months after the Wealth series and still posting about this stuff, our audience will be there to support you. Or whether that means grabbing a friend and going through the Wealth series with them. Okay. So you said like your biggest takeaway was, other than the emotional breakup with your Tahoe, was all the way back at the beginning that you can do this, and very quickly into the series we talk about saving, because that's something that everybody can get a handle on. Maybe we're not all in a situation where yet we feel confident enough or in a role to go make more money and increase our income. We do our net worth, and yes, hopefully you've got yours and you'll track it every month, and you'll keep us all up to date that I'm up 100% and whatever great numbers you generate, Stacey. But talk about saving. What's the biggest impact that has changed for you that you've said, I'm cutting this out, or hey, I'm no longer doing that, or I can buy the cheaper version of this, whatever it is? Talk about how saving has impacted you, because that's what a lot of people post about in the group.
Absolutely. Savings is, like you said, an across the board thing. Everybody is always worried about it. And that I think that they don't realize it until they put on paper how almost easy it is to get it done if you're willing to take the time. For example, I was able to cut out I lowered my insurance, not only because I lost a vehicle, but because I went and compared for the one vehicle I do have. I had actually realized that car had been sitting in my driveway for over a year, not being used, and it was insured and registered. So that was a little bit disheartening when I realized how much I had already been spending. So before I even thought about solding it, I removed it from my insurance immediately because it wasn't drivable anyway. So that saved me about $25 a month. All of the subscriptions that have, the usual Netflix TV watching things has been removed. And then, Chad, you and I think, have connected on the level of eating out is a very strong thing. But I also think that this win, make, give process isn't just in the financial side. When you really get involved with it, it starts to reflect in different areas of your life as well. It was just ironic that it happened at the beginning of the year, and it was the same time that people want to get healthy and they want to start eating better, working out and doing all those things. So the fact that I was cutting out eating fast food or eating out in general and eating more at home, saving $100 a month here or there, being that diligent reflects in other areas of life. So and just also looking at the budget that was provided, the things that you're spending money on, when you start to look at it, you're surprised. And it's really a conversation I have now of, do I want to spend my money on that? It's not, oh, it's an automatic thing. I'm obviously going to go out every weekend and do these things with my friends. It's okay if I do that. If I have this plan on Friday night coming up, that means I need to save money throughout the rest of the week to make sure that I'm compensating and not just continuing to spend it without thinking.
A great tip right there for everybody. All right, Stacey, we hope that just a short little message for everybody that's out there, folks. I hope you can hear from our top contributor through Wealth Series 2.0. Thank you for being that person. We will hope to continue to see you in the Facebook group as the Win, Make, Give podcast continues after the Wealth Series. as we continue with our focus of health, wealth, leadership, and legacy in all the episodes. Stacey, thanks for being so involved, and thanks for sharing with our audience.
Thank you so much, Chad.
All right, so I have a really special guest here on the Win, Make, Give podcast. We affectionately refer to you around our parts here as Grandma Gail. My mother, Gail Smith. Grandma Gail, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. And it's funny, like we call you Grandma Gail around here because you're like the motherly figure, and we share your story in our real estate world. A lot of the 79 transactions your first year in real estate and adopting our models and on and on. But Grandma Gail, as it relates to the Wealth series, is actually a very appropriate moniker for you. And so tell the Win, Make, Give audience, Mom, why is Grandma Gail an appropriate moniker as we're talking about the Wealth series specifically?
Well, as it relates to the Wealth series, I decided that the oldest grandchildren, I actually invited a grandchild number 4 down in the pecking order to join us too, but she had just couldn't commit to the time. So it's the 3 oldest grandchildren, and I decided that they were probably not too young to start learning way sooner than I did or you did, Bob, about ways to build wealth. And so we just decided to hop on a call once a week and go through the 2 podcasts that had dropped, the previous week.
Okay, so you have so the 3 oldest grandchildren are my oldest son, Kellen, my brother Mark's oldest daughter, Ava, and my brother Mike's oldest son, Colton, right?
Yes.
And how, so they're, I know how old Kellen is, but Ava's 16, is that right? Or is she 17 now?
Oh, yeah.
She just had a birthday in February here, so she just turned 18. I'm 17.
Yep.
And Kellen and Colton are both 15, right?
Right. Well, they'll be 16. They'll be 16 this summer.
Okay, so these three children, my son and my niece and my nephew, they are doing the Wealth series now. So basically, they're listening to it. Are they also doing the workbooks? Because
yes,
okay.
Yes, and to be honest, I was shocked at the depth that they did the workbooks. In fact, Grandma Gail had to step up her game in her note-taking abilities because they were ferociously taking notes. And so when we go through the courses, the first couple courses, I didn't take quite enough notes.
So like they were asking you questions based on notes they'd taken or something.
Yes.
You're like, oh my gosh.
Okay. Yes. And I had to kind of backtrack and I've been through the Wealth series and, in all reality, this is the second one that Ben and you guys all have done, on the podcast version. But I actually attended the first Win, Make, Give founding class in 2018, and then the Win, Make, Give in 2019, which the Wealth series was part of that.
Yeah, so we used to do these before COVID. We did live events, and maybe before long we'll back and have another one of those. And then when COVID came, we did the first Wealth series in 2020. So you'd been through the stuff in 2018 and 2019 and again into 2020. And so this is probably your 4th kind of exposure to it. This one's a little bit more robust than the previous 3 versions.
Very much robust. And I had just actually taken my agents through it, through the original series in October, in preparation for this also, because I wanted them to kind of get their kind of base game started before this bigger series came out. Okay.
So has there been any ahas, anything that you were not expecting with these kids? You already said you wasn't expecting them to be this engaged in it and taking this many notes and things, but what's been maybe the most rewarding thing that's come out of it with the kids?
Well, the most rewarding has actually been their depth of understanding has just blown me away. I was talking to Ben actually about a week ago, and I had mentioned to him that this is something that really needs to be taught in the schools, at the high school level, and maybe at the college level also, but, at the high school level. And I said, I hate to say this, and he said, well, maybe a smaller version, or I said, yeah, I hate to use the word dumbed down version. But after taking these kids through it, I said, man, you can't dumb it down too much because these kids really grasp a lot of knowledge. that I had no idea that they were even going to understand. A couple of the biggest things that, when I first started, I thought, well, some of this stuff isn't even pertained to them. Sure. Like we're going to go through, we went through the part about, the check and the reality check part. Mm-hmm. And, going through your stuff and where are you spending the money? Well, these kids have debit cards. Right. And so when we started talking about that, one of the first things that Ava mentioned was that she needed to up her savings. She was already putting up, she works. All three of them have jobs.
Yep.
Kellen works for his mom's law office just a couple days a week. Ava works and has bought her own car and makes payments on that and has to pay her insurance. I think her parents actually help her with half of it, but she has to come up with another half, which I think is a great idea. And then she was putting away so much money per paycheck into a savings account that is now in one that she doesn't have a debit card to, so she can't get to it, And she started going through her, her debit card and realized that she was quote unquote wasting money. And I'm like, where are you wasting money at? And she said, when I go out with my friends.
Yeah.
So she decided to double up her savings amount, so that she wouldn't have as easy of access to that. Colton, he worked all last summer and bought a car, and that's already paid for. The kid's not even 16. That car is 100% paid for. He paid cash for it. And so he is now saving towards, he says, by the end of the summer, I'll have my $10,000 saved up that is going to go into an index fund.
Get out of here.
Yeah. He's like, he'll be 16 this summer. So he's thinking the Warren Buffett, I can be Warren Buffett and put that $10,000 into an index fund. And so they're all have these goals that they're driving towards, but it's just been amazing to see, they're excited about it too. And I really see that they're going to be taking some actions that we all should have done when we were younger, and didn't, either through stupidity, lack of knowledge, or whatever, that they now have the tools and the means to make better decisions that are really going to have a huge effect on their lives.
Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming that Colton obviously was really paying attention in that compounding episode, right? Where it's
my God.
You know, and look, those kids at that age, they're 15 and 16, it's really easy for them to see what 40 years from now would look like. And maybe even, I think of Kellen, I'm 30 years older than him, right? So he's got that 30-year head start on me, essentially. Right. Not quite 30. I've known this stuff for a few years, right? But he's got these kids have this massive head start, and the compounding effects of that and making the right decisions over the course of those next 30 years.
Right.
Dramatically different position potentially than they would be in if they weren't, aware of the decisions they're making.
Right. It was a funny thing too. So we went through that compounding thing, which really got them excited. Then when they got into the real estate deal, and I talked about the idea of them being able to buy something, even if they're in college, and being able to, rent that out, and that then becomes an investment property for later on. And here's the funny thing about that. When it got to that, we had that discussion prior to the real estate episode. And when it got to the real estate episode and that part of the investing category, Colton says to me, he's off the charts excited. He's like, oh man, he goes, I was going to put this is funny. I was going to put that $10,000 in that index fund, but I think that I'm way smarter to invest it in real estate. I said, whoa, let's back up. Now, Colton is going to be 16 this summer, but Colton actually didn't start school a year after Kellen. They're the same age, but he's a year behind Kellen.
Kellen will he'll become a junior this next year, and Colton will become a sophomore.
Exactly. So Colton and I talked about that, and I said, look, here's the deal, Colton. You have an advantage here because you've got this summer now that you could easily save up that $10,000 that can go into the index fund. You've got enough summers now before you start college. He's got basically 3 more summers before he starts college. I said, you have enough time and have enough, we'll have enough income to actually, in addition to that $10,000, save up enough money for a down payment on a house.
Wow.
And so he's like, his kind of the ding ding went off. And he's like, you're right. And so he could get the best of both worlds just by that extra year or two that he has on Kellen and Ava.
Yeah. Yeah. Unbelievable. I totally agree, by the way. This should be taught in schools in some way. Like, I don't know when. Look, I loved math. You know that I was on the math team in high school, and we joke about that here on the podcast all the time. But like, I can't remember when I've ever used the Pythagorean theorem in my life since I got that's what I was learning right in high school in math and so many things. Look, I think there's a really good value in a well-rounded education that we get coming through the schooling system, but at the same time, there's like massive gaps and wealth building and the understanding of money and is a massive gap. And Mom, it probably get me a little bit choked up to say this, but it's really awesome you're doing this, for these kids, because it puts them in a really amazing position to live amazing lives, starting with a really great foundation. So thanks.
Well, I've got Ben and all you guys to thank for that, and thank me for that. And the cool thing about this program is, I for lack of a better word, I don't know if it's called a program or whatever, but it's so simple. And the steps actually are so easy. And you can actually literally see just by small changes in activities or in the ways that you spend money or don't spend money or the ways that you save can have massive compound effect over time. And I think that's what the kids understand way more than we probably do.
Yeah, because, they've got all that time in front of them, right? So, man, that I can't even tell you in my 20s, how much just dumb shit I did, right? And it wasn't necessarily because it was as much because I just didn't know any better, right? I didn't know any better, and nor should I have, maybe, right? But today, these kids, the next generation in our family, has a chance to know better, and that's because of Grandma Gail. So, love you, Mom. Thank you so much for jumping in here and sharing a little bit about the adventure and the journey with my son Kellen and my niece and nephew Ava and Colton. I think they'll be forced to listen to this one, so they'll hear us talking about them, and you guys will do your wrap up at the very end. But love you, Kellen. Love you, Ava. Love you, Colton. And Grandma Gail, Mom, I love you too. Thanks, and we'll see you guys all on the Win Make Give podcast here really soon.
You might have heard the giggle there. Chad Himes here with Ava Chandler. Now, if you are taking the Wealth Series 2.0 and you are engaged in our Facebook group, you know Ava, because she spoke up early on in our Facebook group and caught the hearts of many, and then even earned herself a shout out in one of our episodes when we were talking to Molly English, I think it was, that Ava earned herself a few little shout outs in there as she has become one of the favorites of us here, at least at the Win Make Give world. Ava, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Okay, so you're 15 years old, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we got consent from Mom and Dad that you're here. That's okay. I'm not getting in trouble with all that. Okay, good. Yeah, of course. I checked with them. Don't worry. Ava, let's just start with, what the heck is a 15-year-old and maybe even 14 when you started, because I know your birthday was recent. What the heck is a 14-year-old doing taking the Wealth Series?
My parents are pretty awesome. They have a few investment properties. And so that's really, I haven't gotten excited about that yet until, well, obviously now I have, but not until recently. Then I kind of started being like, oh, that's kind of cool. Maybe I want to get into that. And so this is my first time. I'm pretty much really early right now getting into the stuff. I just got excited about it recently. And so taking the Wealth Series was one of the first steps that I've taken. And I'm really excited to just take more. And my parents, of course, they were like, hey, do you want to do this? You should. So they didn't make me or anything. It was a choice. And I was,
glad you've taken that choice now?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell us something that you took away from the Wealth Series that applies immediately to the life of a teenager.
I have just been really thinking when I buy stuff, which is such a simple thing, when I just buy clothes, when I'm shopping and stuff, I really think multiple times about how, and big purchases, just some other stuff, is this important, or do I want to save my money? And just stuff like that I've just thought a lot more about. And yeah, it's just really changed my mindset. And I'm still learning a lot of stuff about, I don't know how you would say it, like the financial IQ language or something like that. Just those big words that I'm still learning to this day. And yeah.
Ava, insider information here. Don't tell anybody else. It's just between us. I'm still learning those words too. And
There's a lot of big confusing ones.
and I've got your age. If you flip your age, now you know how old I am. Okay. So my numbers go the other way. Okay. So here you are. You jumped into the Well series. Mom and dad were smart. Mom and dad are great people. And mom and dad said, hey. And you said, yeah, I'm in. And you've been sticking with it. You've started already thinking about maybe when I buy something, I don't need it. Maybe I can save that money. What are you doing with the money that you're not buying things with right now? Have you started with the compound interest lesson and started to put it somewhere? Are you just keeping it in the piggy bank? What's the plan with that money right now in your life?
I just recently got a checking account, and I'm super excited about that. My mom helped me with that. So I have the checking account, and then I have this app called Greenlight, which I know a lot of people probably have, just like a little debit card app that it actually what's the word? It puts your money in different things. So there's a savings little thing, there's a spending, and so it separates the money you earn per week for doing chores and stuff.
Yep.
From your parents, and then you also get a card you can use, but it's like that. And so I have most of my money in there, and I have a lot of money in saving, and I don't take it out of there. I just leave it in there. It's actually funny. There's a few things I've been saving up for that I remember. I really wanted a hoverboard for a long time. That's years ago. I was like, I really want a hoverboard. They're $100. That was a big deal to me back then.
Sure. It's a big deal to all of us. We get to hover.
It was a lot of money. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to do that. And then when I got closer and closer to the budget, I was like, because I was thinking about it for a while, I was like, ooh, I don't know if that's totally something I want to get actually. So I changed my mind, and then it was a golf cart at one point. I live in Alaska. I don't know what I was thinking. It was a little crazy, but there's just been a lot of things. And so now I have one, a little bracket for when I turn 16, I want to be able to buy myself half of a car, half of the money, because my parents will buy half. That's the little deal we have, luckily. And the rest of it, I'm just, now what I'm saving up for is an investment property. I want to buy one when I turn 18. I don't really know if I'm going to build one, or if I'm just we'll just see what it's like when the time comes. But
sure.
Yeah,
okay. It might be an excuse to buy it somewhere warm weather so you can go visit it as we talk. Yep. So an excuse to get away from the cold of Alaska, that you're getting the pleasure. Yeah. Golf cart in Alaska. I don't really get that one.
But Alaska is actually, I was thinking about it the other day. It's a lot of people come here for visits. And so it's great for rentals,
There you go. Inside scoop, everybody. Start looking north towards Alaska. Who knows what you can get your hands on up there as an investment property. All right. So you've been going through this. Your aha was paying attention to what you're spending money on. You've been putting money aside. You now are sitting here. And folks, I don't know. I wish when my daughter was 14 and 15 years old, she started saying, oh, I don't want a hoverboard anymore. No, I don't want the golf cart anymore. I want to save money because I want to be able to buy an investment property when I turn 18. That would have been freaking awesome. You're in that situation. What would your message be to other teenagers that are out there and hearing your interview, even though they've not taken the Wealth series or anything like that? What would be your message if I were saying you are talking to the teenagers of the world right now?
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. I would say just open your box. You don't need to have your box shut and go the regular American dream path. There's other options that you can explore. So maybe try, maybe you want to do the American dream path, but maybe you want to do something else. And that's so fun. And there's so many great books that you can read. There's great podcasts. There's so many other ones and just so many things. So really just explore. There's nothing you can lose. Just see, dip your toe in the pool, just see what you might like and enjoy.
Okay. So you said that to the teenagers. What do you want to say to all the adults of the world out there? There are adults that are taking the course, that are many sessions into the course, just like you are, and they're hearing your interview. They have kids. They don't. They're getting started in life late on their wealth build, whatever it is. or maybe they've never heard an episode of the Wealth series and they're just hearing your interview. What's your message to the adults of the world when it comes to wealth?
I mean, I don't know. Maybe just, oh, I don't know what I would say to them. Just, it's okay, if you're a little late in the journey, like it really doesn't matter what time. I mean, of course, younger is like really different, but it doesn't matter what age you are completely. Like that's nothing. You just do it if you want,
Is 15 the right age for the Wealth series?
I don't know. I think any age could be great,
Okay. Do you have do you have younger siblings or older siblings taking it with you, or is it just you?
Just me. I'm the oldest.
Okay.
My sisters, one of my sister, when we hear the podcast, when they first come out, we're always like in the car. We run around a lot. So me and my little sister are homeschooled together.
Okay.
And then my two younger siblings, one just goes to school still, and then one is a baby. So he doesn't really go to school yet.
So how old's your sister?
What?
How old's your sister? Okay.
Well,
is she getting it the same way you are, or is the difference between 12 and 15 actually a difference?
She's not totally into it yet, but I can definitely see that she will. But like I was saying, we do listen to the podcast in the car, like before we go back and listen to them again with the workbook. Then she always is listening to them. So sometimes we'll hear her talk about it a little bit to us when we're like talking at the end. And it's just so funny for me to like, not funny, it's like cool to hear her say some stuff, because it's like probably like how my mom feels about me,
Sure.
And how she just can say some things about what she's taking away and stuff. So she's kind of in it a little.
All right, Ava. So when a kid turns 13, should this be required to become a teenager? You should have to take the Wealth series?
No, but I think you should at least try to see if you might like it.
There you go. Okay. Last minute here. What do you want to say to mom and dad? Because they're going to be listening. They're going to be hearing this. What's the message you want to say to mom and dad now that we're wrapping up the Wealth series and that you've gone through?
I'm super grateful that they have been so loving and supporting. And I'm grateful that they put me in a spot where like I could explore this journey and see if I would like it. Like there's no pressure. They were like, hey, do you want to try this? And I was totally like, oh my gosh, yeah, that's so cool. I want to do it. And there's such good examples. They have a few rental properties, and I love when my mom takes me over there and we can like buy some little decorations to put in there to furnish them a little, like them a little cuter, or just so many other things when I help them when they're like fixing up a property or anything like that. It's just fun quality time that I get with them. And I'm just super grateful that they have been like helping me with this and doing it with me.
All right, there you go. Right from the mouth of babes, right? Children are even telling us, folks, doesn't matter what age you're at. It's never too late to start. Heck, if you're a teenager, check it out. Maybe the Wealth series is for you. And mom and dad, thanks. Right, folks? Don't we all wish we had a mom and dad like that had us having these conversations when we were this age? Who knows what danger we could all be to the world today. Ava, thanks for taking the time and sharing with us and the audience. We look forward to your future wealth.
Thank you for inviting me.
Woo, Chad. Like, listen, I again, like I said at the outset, right? It's one thing to listen to this stuff, but you get a sense that it's a little bit different when you're actually in there doing these activities, right? And really, and for a lot of us, me especially, the very first time we ever did this, Chad, kind of stretching yourself, getting a little bit uncomfortable, right? I know the first time I ever did my own reality check, it wasn't that comfortable, right? So I just love listening to these folks that they're doing it,
Absolutely. And folks, that's all we want for you. Look, this is episode 16 of the Wealth series. There's still one more coming, right? There's still the wrap-up episode that we're calling Commitment. And then there's still the live call that'll be coming where we'll answer some questions, we'll give you some more information, things like that. Yet we want you to completely transform your life. Yet, Bob, I think you'd agree, we're okay if they just walk away from the Wealth series with just one thing they do differently, right? If they just start doing the net worth tracker, or if they just cut out that thing that they're spending money on that they've now realized, why am I wasting $500 a year that I
honestly, Chad, for me, the very first time I ever went through the Wealth series, the taxes thing is the thing that stuck and landed for me. And it's been worth, in the last 5 years, north of $100,000 to my family because we took the advice from the tax episodes of the Wealth series. So yeah, just like if all you're doing to get started is one thing, awesome. And then in subsequent, exposure to the Wealth series, Chad, right? I finally started getting my shit together, and and now we live by a lot of these principles. But
well, Bob, that's the thing, right? It's there for our audience. We're going to leave the Wealth series in the Win, Make, Give podcast. You can always scroll back. You can always go to winmakegive.com/wealth and go directly to the episodes, or just scroll through your app wherever you're listening to it, because we're always going to have it there, because maybe you need to go through it again. Or maybe you just need to listen to a certain episode, or get this, folks. Maybe you should send your accountant, your CPA, the tax episodes, because maybe they're missing some of the things that Tom Wheelwright shared or that Ben shared that would help you in your tax situations, because your CPA is not staying on top of it and should know everything that you know. The Wealth series is going to be here for you forever. We will leave it there. We want you to keep coming back again and again. And if every time you do one new thing, might take you a few years, but that's okay. Imagine what those years will then pay off.
Might take you a few years, but if you're Ava Channer or Kellen or Ava or Colton Stewart, like, those kids have a lifetime in front of them to adopt these models and these systems and to really, I'm blown away by, I'm super thankful to my mom for doing this for, my son and my niece and nephew. Ava Channer is an amazing young girl. Like, my mom first was introduced to the Wealth series like in her, probably late 50s, early 60s. And like in the last 5 years after her, I think she was saying in 2018 was the first time she'd heard it. Like these principles have dramatically changed the trajectory of her retirement and her ability to put some of those kids through college, although Colton and Ava and Kellen likely aren't going to need the help. But it's really cool to hear some of these impact stories that the group shared with us.
Yeah, and I love Stacy sharing the heartache of giving away something that they were selling, something that she'd had for so long in her truck that just didn't make sense anymore. And the Wealth series helped her make that. And you, our audience, helped her when she made the post about it, be so supportive and help her be able to get through something that's such a challenge. Bob, it's a fantastic opportunity for folks. Don't message me, folks. Don't message me. Yet I'm going to tell you soon, Bob and I are going to have some information about a Wealth series certification so that you can go about teaching the Wealth series in your area. Because imagine if this was required education for teenagers. Imagine what we could do with people.
I was at a conference recently, and I was telling you about this before. So many people came up and were like, well, first off, they didn't know who I was, but then they heard my voice and they're like, wait, are you, why do I know you? Oh, you're on Ben Kinney's Wealth series. But they, a lot of them were saying, I've done this with clients, right? I've got a group at my church that does this. One lady was like, how do I get this into schools in my area? And so the thing you're talking about, we hope will be kind of a vehicle for people to go out and look. We got a lot of people that without the certification have been out there doing this as a group and just listening to the podcast episodes, right? And I think that many of you listening are doing that right now with a group of people. But we want to maybe make it a little bit easier for you if you're thinking about doing that.
Absolutely. And we're going to have additional information and education for our certified trainers that'll be out there. More information coming. Do not message me, as I know about 20 people are about to say I'm interested, right? We'll let you know. Just stay tuned to the Win, Make, Give podcast. Bob, they should also make sure they're in our Facebook group. That is facebook.com/group/win, make, give, because that's where we post a lot of the stuff. That's where we share the information. If you're having trouble finding any of the episodes, they are pinned to the top of the Facebook group. If you're having any trouble finding the homework answers, don't ask me. Ask him, right? Bob's the one who's giving away the information. I'm not giving you the homework information. I'm fighting you for that $10,000 prize, folks. Sadly, I'm not eligible. And folks, we just want to make sure that we continue to bring you value, because here at Win, Make, Give, we are about health, wealth, leadership, legacy, and we're going to continue on our journey. We hope that as the Wealth series wraps up after the commitment episode. That doesn't stop you from being a fan and a follower of Win, Make, Give. Until our next episode, as always, do good.